Um, Hello, good morning once again. In the last class, we were able to look at the loop in that, so which we look at different types of loops we have, ranging from while loop, do while loop, for loop, for each loop, and for in loop. So we also looked at examples of how to use them. So today we'll be moving on to function in that programming language. Um, a function is like a set of instructions that we already written somewhere, and we can make a call to that uh block of code anytime we want to use it. So it's like we write set of function, I mean set of code somewhere, and anytime we call that function or code. So it will execute that code in that function without having to write the function again. So we can use it more than once without having to write the same function again and again. So function can take an input and also can return an output. So and the structure of a function is the return type. That is what we want to return from our function, the name of the function, then brackets, then the parameters that we want to pass to the function. I mean, the inputs we want to pass to the function. Then we close the brackets, then we open curly brackets. And inside this curly bracket is where we'll put our block of codes. So now let me share my screen so that you'll see how the function looks like. Okay. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen now. Hello.
Sir,
You can see my screen, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. So what is the syntax of a function? Syntax of function goes like this. Um, return type, return type, then space, the function name, function name, then the brackets. Then if our function is going to take an input, we'll pass the parameters here. Then this is the curly brackets, and inside here is where we write all our function, all our all block of code that we want to input in our function. Then we would have a return type, I mean a return value. If our function is going to take a return, I mean it's going to return any value, we'll put return, we'll return then return value.
Sir, the others are trying to join the meeting.
Okay. Okay, I've accepted this invite. I mean, All right. So then this return value. So this is how a syntax look like. I mean, a function looks like. So this will be the return type of our function, the function name, the inputs of our function, and then the block of codes will be here. The block of code. Ok. Then we will have our return and the return value. So if you take notes right from the beginning of our course, we have been doing something like void main. Then we have then we write our function, whatever we want to write inside here, right? So this is like the default function in every programming language. Every programming language have their main function. We call it main function. So the main function is um is the instruction that will run our app. So it's the starting point of every Dart programming language. That is, any Dart programming app would have a main function. Do you get? So they have main function, and that is where the beginning. You can write whatever you want to write in different in a separate file, but the function will never be executed without main function. I hope you get me.
So,
Okay, so now if you look at this main function, let's look at the structure of this main function. This is a return type. The return type, this is the return type. This is the function name. This is the bracket where we'll put if this main function would have parameters. And the main function, I think it has parameters of is args or something. I can't remember, but it used to have, let me do something. Yeah, so it takes in this as an input. Although the input of this is optional. We'll look at optional inputs later in this course, maybe by later today. So basically, the void this void is the return type of our function. The main is the function name. This is the inputs, that is our parameters of our function. Then inside here is where we write everything that we want to do. Like we will write whatever we want our functions to do. For example, this main function is getting called every time we click to run our app. Every time we click to run our app, this main function is getting called. Let's see example of how a function is getting called. If you remember, we've been doing something like print, then we put in parameters of whatever we want to, I mean, we put in the value of whatever we want to print. So this is typically how a function is being called. The print method is a function somewhere. Let's look at where it is declared. So you see, the print is a void, it returns void. When something returns void, it means it returns nothing. Do you get? But we'll look at it later. We'll look at all those keywords. So the print takes in an object, and all our, that is an object-oriented programming language. So the everything we are doing is originated from objects. Hello, are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
So everything, every function, every data type we are working with is they originated from an object. So that is why we can pass an object as a data type and we can pass any value to it. I hope you understand. So this is a function that prints whatever we want to print. And this print function also calls another function, which is print to console. So basically, this is typically how a function is being called. Let's go back to our. So this print function is being written somewhere in, and it has been installed in our dat package. You see, if you look at this part, it is the directory where I have my dats installed. So it has bin, and inside this bin, this code is being written there. So um, so basically that's how a function is being called. So let's look at let's try and write some function ourselves. So let's start with a function that doesn't return any value. We can do okay, don't let us put anything yet. Let's see uh do some, let's say these are functioning. So basically this is the structure of how to create a variable. Now here we are supposed to put the data type of our return data type. So we are supposed to put a return data type. So if you look at this, if you hover on this function now, you can see that it automatically puts dynamic there for us. It automatically puts dynamic, meaning that this function can return anything. It can return a dynamic value. So, but if we do something like if we put void here, so we are telling this our compiler that this function is not returning anything. It's not returning any value. I hope you guys are getting me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this basically means that this function will not return anything. By using dynamic, or we did not put anything. This means that let's say we put dynamic here. This basically means that our function can return any value. It can return any value. So, but putting void here means that our function will not return a value. So let's see, let's say, let's call another function inside here and say doing something. So this function is when let's call this function. We can call it by by just calling do something. Now, if we run this program, note that I put this method outside the main function. Can you see it here? Hello.
Sir.
All right. So I put it outside the main function. We'll look at what is a scope in a bit. So just understand that this do something is written outside the main function. And we made a call to that function inside the main function. And if we run our code here, yeah, you see, doing something is being printed to our console. I hope you guys get it up to this level. Hello, am I communicating with someone?
No.
You did not get it,
Yes.
and that is because is that favor?
Yes.
Okay. Um, before you came in, we were discussing about function in that programming language. Debo, I hope you are also here.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're discussing about function in that programming language. So this is how function looks like. I mean, this is how to create a function in that programming language. So we have the return type here, which will be the value we want to return from the data type of the value we want to return from our function. Function is a block of code written somewhere and can be called at any point in our program. Do you get?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's like we writing some our code somewhere, and later we want to print it. We want to do something with that function. We want to do something with that code. So instead of writing the code every time that we need it, so we can put it inside a function, and every time, just think of it like you have a robot that buy you food every day, right? So it buy you
Yes.
your breakfast, or it prepares your breakfast every morning. Now, every day you have to give it instruction that, okay, to prepare my breakfast, first you have to wash the plates, you turn on the gas, you put in water, you pour in your rice after washing it, you do a lot of things that your robot is supposed to do before making your breakfast ready, right? So now every morning that you need your robot to do that, to prepare your breakfast, you would have to write the function every day. Like um let's say this morning you write it um at exactly 7 a.m. Go to the kitchen, wash the pots, turn on the gas cylinder. I mean, turn on the gas cooker. Uh, put your pot on the fire, pour water in it. After a while, pour your rice. So all those functions, you have to write it every day, every day, every day. But what if you have a function that instead you already write it somewhere every day? I mean, you already write that function there. So every day you just need to click on the button to create, I mean, to prepare your breakfast. So once you click that button, your robots already know the function that you want to call, which is breakfast, to prepare your breakfast. So basically, that's what a function is. So it gets your this your set of instruction executed at a call instead of writing it every time you need it. I hope you get it.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A minute, please. Okay. So now, so now, let's say this is the syntax of a function. That is the return type. Your function can return a value. Your function will have a name that you would use to reference it. Then your function will have can take in an input. Do you get? And this is you have this curly brackets. where you execute your code, whatever you write the whatever instruction you want your functions to do. And then if your function is going to have a return value, then you return whatever value you want to return. I hope you guys get it up to here.
Yes.
All right. D-boy, are you following? Olayinka, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So now we look at main function, and right from the beginning of this course, you have been seeing something like this main function, right? Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
yes, sir.
now this main function is a function written some way, and its main job is to execute our program. That is, whatever we do in our code base, so it is only this main function that gets it working. If we do not have this main function here and we try to run our program, we do not even see, you see, the moment I comment out the main function, all the buttons that are supposed to click to run the program, they disappeared. And even if I do something like if I do that run function dot start, you see, it says invoke that program must have a main function. You see, so it means that this main function is exactly where our program gets executed. So, and this is not exclusive to that programming alone. Almost, if not almost all programming language have main function. It can be different syntax. Let me look for main function in Java. I think I know it, but I do not want to start cracking my brain. Function. So this is what main function looks like in Java. You have public static void. You see, it's almost the same thing. This string that you see here, this string, list of string, this is array because Java use array instead of list. So this is like the list of arguments, just like we have in our program, in our main function, list of arguments. But this
Sir, your screen is blank.
my screen is blank. Why? Let me stop sharing and share again.
Yes, it's white.
White.
You're on the browser. Yeah, you're on the browser. Showing your
Okay.
browser page. Like another
Can you see it
another
now?
tab. No.
No,
No,
you're
you
on
don't.
your Chrome, sir.
I can hear you.
You're on your Chrome.
Showing Chrome.
Yes, I'm on my Chrome. I'm showing you the main function in Java. You know what? Let me just copy it back to my code. So
Can't see anything here, sir.
let me go back to, I think maybe it's not. Can you see my screen now?
No, still white.
Let me stop sharing. A minute. Yeah, hello. So let's move on. Um, like I was saying, so this main function is the starting point of our code. This is what main function looks like in Java. If you notice,
That's
this
Java.
you can see my screen now.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now this public static, these are just access modifier in Java. So we do not need this in a program in that programming language. So then we have void, so just like this. Then the main method. This is list of string. This is how the this is called array in Java. This is called array, but it's almost the same thing as list of list of string. So almost all programming language have main function. So almost all programming language have main function where the program gets executed. Now, and we look at the print function. This print function is supposed to print whatever we write, whatever the input we give it. And this is where the print function is being written. So it's if you look at this directory, it is it is already written by the that developer. So its purpose is to print what we have to console. Like you see, it also called a function to print to console. So this is we are just in our own code, we are just calling this function. This is already written there. We are just calling it by calling it, it's calling this set of instruction. It's calling this set of instruction every time we call print function. I hope you get it now.
Yes, sir.
Hello. All right. Favor, D-Boy, and Olayinka. Do you guys get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now if we look at this example, how we can create a function by ourselves. So this function we created, let me comment this out. This function, if you notice, I wrote everything outside the main function, right? So there's something called scope in every programming language. So this function is being written outside the main function, and we can call it in the main function. If we call it, we are going to have, let's run this program. So, so it prints do something in the console. Hello, are you guys following?
Sir. Yes.
Do you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Is there any question? Okay, I think that's asking no question, right? So let's say our robot doesn't only take it doesn't even, I mean, we already train our robots. We already write instructions to make different type of food. Yeah. Now we want to let our program, I mean our robots, to prepare whatever we pass to it. Like we want to let it take an input from us to know what is to prepare. So now we can pass an input to a function. For example, let's say string. Uh, you can name this is just like you are declaring a variable inside the function. Do you get? So the data type of the value we want to pass, then the name of that function, I mean that parameter. So let's call this to do, what to do. Now we can say can now pass what to do here. So as you can see, we can pass a parameter to a function, and then we pass the value. I mean, we can use that value of the parameter. We can use it in our program. Okay, for example, now where we will call this function, we'd have to pass that value, just like the way we are doing here, that we pass the value to this print function. You can't call print function without passing any value. So the same thing, our program also, our own do something, can't we can't call it without passing a parameter, since we've passed the value to we tell it to take a function, and it can't work without that function. I mean, without that parameter. So now I wanted to comment this out. Okay, so we can pass a value here. Let's call it something. So if we run this program now, our program will return doing something, as you can see. Or we can also say, let's see, yeah, then what to prepare. So we can say prepare breakfast. So when we run our program, this is going to prepare breakfast. So we can call this function as much as we want, as many as we want. For example, here we want to prepare breakfast. We want to prepare lunch again. And we also want to prepare supper. So let's run it. And you can see. So this same, without having to write this function again and again, we are able to call our function every time we need it to do something. Hello, you guys are getting me right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Now, let's say we want our functions to, let's do another thing. Now, let's say we want our function to sum two values. So, yet we don't want it to return anything. So, and then we call it uh int a. This will be our first value, int b. So, meaning that our function can take as much inputs as we want. So we can say int result is equal to a plus b. Then we can print results. Oh, sorry, we did not call the function. So as you can see, you sometimes you might have issue like this that you would not know where you are getting your issue from. It's because we have not called this function. That is why it's not running here, as you can see. So we can call, call this one. Let's see, let's call sum. Then A would be, let's say, 3 and 5. Then let's run our program. As you can see, 8 is printed to the console. So this can be used to execute a long it's very useful because we can use it to perform an heavy task without having to write it every time we need to. So this is a function that takes inputs. It can take input of any data type, right? And it can take as many as we want. Now, let's say we want to return a value. Then instead of this void, it will be the data type of the value we want to return. For instance, let's say this will return an integer. Then you see, immediately we change this to an integer. This start to complain. It's complaining that the body might complete normally, causing null to be returned. But the return type is an integer. So basically, what this is saying is that this function requires to return an integer, but the value we right now we are not returning anything, which at the end of the program the return type might be null. Do you get? So to fix that, we just need to return results. So now, how do we now use the return value? You can say, you can declare a variable here. Let's call it result is equal to, then let's comment it out from here. Let's comment print out from here. Then we can now say, we can say result plus 5. Let's print that out. Hello, are you guys following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now as you can see, we have 13 printed to our console, meaning that when we return a value from a function, we can also use that value anywhere we want it. We can also use that value. This is not necessarily to be a result. We can name it everything, Variable name can be anything that we want, right? Hello.
Sir.
I said,
Sir.
Yes, sir.
yeah, I said variable name can be anything we want. So declaring this as result here doesn't have anything to do with the result here. And that is where something called scope comes in. A function, a variable can only be accessed within the scope of its parent. Now, for example, look at these results. These results can only be accessed within this function. Here that we are returning results, we are only returning the value of this result. We are not returning this variable itself. Hello, you guys are getting me right?
Yes, sir.
So we are returning value of result, not the variable result itself. So that is why here we can also create a variable and name it something. Now, here, we can't create another variable and name it result anymore. So you see, this starts complaining. The variable name result is already defined. And that is because these results and these results are inside the same scope. The scope of this result is from here to here, only within this curly brackets. Also, the scope of this result is from here to here. Do you get? It's from here to here. Now, we have something called global scope or global scale variable. If we declare results, now let's say we declare results outside the main function. Or let's say this let's say this function is written in here. Now let's say this function is written in here. Now these results and these results are supposed, let me see the okay. I want to now okay, this is not existing. Okay. Okay, what I wanted to check, let me just declare it. The result is equal to 0. Okay, so what I wanted to check is the scope of this. These results that we have here can be accessed in here, inside the sum. You see that I moved the sum function inside the main method. You can see it here. So this is where the main method ends. This is the scope of main method. So this is the scope of main method. And inside it, we declare a function called sum. So inside this function, these results can be accessed, but these results cannot be accessed outside this main function. Let's see it in action. Let's say we name this result 1. Now, in here, we can change result 1 to be oh, sorry, this is not it's not accessing this. Okay, sorry, it's supposed to be result 1. So as you can see, this result 1 can be accessed inside this main function. Right? Now let's declare another variable and name it results inside the sum scope. So int results is equal to 1. Now these results cannot be accessed outside this sum. Let's say result is equal to 5. As you can see, this is saying undefined name results. And the reason is because this is where the scope of sum ends. So these results can only be accessed inside this sum function and not outside it. Hello. Are you guys communicating? I mean, are you guys getting me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's move on to. I wanted to return this back to where it belongs. So now, note when I move this sum function out of the main function, you see this this started to complain because main function and this result can only be accessed inside the main function, and our function is not being declared inside main function. Are you guys? I hope you guys understand it very well. No. Let me set this back to. Now, let's look at the type of parameter we can pass to a function. Now, this particular function, the variable we are passing it, I mean the value parameter we are passing to it now is called positional parameter. Hello, hello, are you guys following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is called positional parameter, and because we cannot interchange the position of this parameter. Okay, let's say this, we declare another variable here, and we call it string. It's a string data type, and we call it C. Now, the first property of named parameter is it must be it must be passed when you call the function. It must be passed. That is, you must have value for that parameter when you pass it from here. So now, this is complaining because we haven't add the third parameter, which is a string. Let's put something here. So now, each of them maintain their position. We cannot say, we cannot put, now, we cannot put string here. We cannot put string here. And this will not take it because the position of string C is at the third index, while um the other two integers are the first and second. So each of them would maintain their position. Now we have another one called optional named parameter. For example, let's say we put this inside, sorry. Now, if we put this inside um s- square brackets like this. Now, if you notice, immediately we did our function starts complaining. And why? Because this is an optional name parameter, meaning that we can either pass it or not pass it. Let's see, let me remove this and do um, okay, this is too many position arguments. Argument one expected, two was passed. I do not get that. Okay, from the what's this type? Okay, this is complaining because of the integer. We are passing integer, but it can be null. So that is why this is complaining. But this one is complaining because we can't add a nullable integer with a non-nullable integer. So we have to first make sure that it's not nullable before we can add it. That is, we cannot add nullable value with non-nullable value because at the point where nullable value is null, non-nullable adding it to non-nullable it doesn't make sense. That is anything that when you have a value that is null, that is doesn't have any value. So you are trying to add it to a value that doesn't work. You have to make sure that the value is first assured that it's not null. So we can either do something like this. We can safely wrap it until 0. You can safely wrap it until 0, or you can say and put exclamation mark here, which okay, value of double can be. Where do we have double here? We do not have any double here. So by the way, this is you have to unwrap it before you can use it with a non-nullable value. Hello, are you guys following? Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's get why this is complaining of a double of a. We do not have any double in our program. Okay, let's move this on to the last. Okay, the problem here was that when you are declaring a named parameter, I mean, I mean, when you declare a positional parameter that is not required, you have to make it the last value. I mean, the last parameter. So it was complaining here because we did not. Yeah, it will get confused when you pass your value and for example, we have three parameters there, and you make the first one uh named and not required. So it would it will not know which value you are passing for each one. For instance, now where we are calling this our function, by passing an integer here, it will automatically know that this is the value of A. I mean, this is the value of B, while the this will be the value of C. Now, if we have any other value after this, will be the value of A. But if not, it knows that this is not required. Hello. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, as we have this, we can also have um, named parameter. Named parameter are always optional, except you make them required. Hello. So by putting curly brackets inside this bracket, it means that all these value are named parameters. By default, they are not required. I mean, if I put question mark here, I put question mark here, I make the value nullable. So automatically it take them. But for this case, we want the value to be required. What do we do? We basically pass a keyword called required. So we add required. So once you put required in front of the value, it takes it, it's make it required when you call the function. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's do the same thing for here and here. Okay, now how do we pass named parameter? So this parameter, they are not positional. That is, you can call them at any position. For example, this string C is the second parameter, right? We can pass it as the first value here. We just need to call the name, then the value, right? We can then call I mean B. We can call them in any, we can pass them in any order. And C, sorry, this A can pass any value. So like this, these functions are not positional, and they are only required if you pass the required keyword in front of their data type. Hello, I
Sir.
hope you guys get it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me look for an exercise before we move on.
So one more thing. So basically, for the function to be able to handle three parameters, it makes use of required, right?
For named parameter, do you get named
Okay.
parameter? Named parameter needs required because by default, their value is not required. For example, let's remove required here and make this. This will work. And if we do not pass it there, let's say we do not pass B. So our program will still work fine. Do you get? Our
Yes, sir.
program will still work fine. And we are not passing the value in any particular order. You can pass it in any order that you want. Your program will still recognize them. So now let's say this one. Let me show you one example here. If you pass this, if you call this function, if you do not pass you might be thinking, if we just make this nullable and we do not pass anything, it will take it. It will not take it. Even if the string is nullable, you still need to pass the null before it can work. That is how named parameter, I mean, um, required parameter works. You have to pass something there. Unlike this named parameter, it is the value are optional. So this one, even if you not pass the string, you still need to pass null. I hope you get it.
Yes, sir.
Is there another question? No, I'll give you an exercise with the one with the one we discussed we did last week, so that you can. Let me just give you one exercise here. Hello, hello, I guess, yeah, hello, what's going on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I've wasted two assignments. I mean, two classwork. Please do it now.
Okay.
Please, I'll drop the call and I'll join you guys later. I needed to attend the meeting. Do you guys see? Hello.
Sir, we hear you loud and clear.
All right. I'll join you in a bit.
Okay, sir.